I don't hear anything, Luis. Well, welcome back. Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is episode 150 or 181, March 20th. This is Thursday, the first day of the NCAA tournament. In my estimation, the first 2 days don't really count because there's only 2 games each day. So
all I know is, dude, I snickered so heartily when I walked past the monitor and I saw that Creighton was running Louisville off the floor, and I was thinking, Matthew, fool me once, fool me 20 times. I'm not doing a damn bracket this year. I would have been already down 0-1 had I filled out a bracket. So
nowhere to go but up.
This is a great day for me personally, in that my worst fears were realized on day one, game one. I'm in a good place because I didn't fill out a bracket.
If those are your worst fears, you don't have a lot of them, and I envy you, sir. No, Louisville lost to Creighton. It just happened. Spoiler alert. Technically minor upset, but to me, this is one of the best days of the entire sporting calendar. We'll talk about that, though, because there's a lot of... I was asked this question yesterday. Where in the pantheon of sports events does the first 4 days, this first 4-day stretch from Thursday to Sunday, the round of 32 and the round of 64, where does that rank in terms of sporting events in North America? So we'll talk about that for a second, because it was a thought-provoking question that I was asked yesterday. Want to remind everyone before we get too far into this, subscribe to the YouTube channel of both News 4, Fox SA. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review the podcast. Helps us out a lot. So we'll talk a lot about March. We'll talk a lot about the madness, because March is here, the madness is near, and everyone is battling it out over the next couple of weeks to get to the Alamo Dome. So excited about that. Who do we have lifting the trophy? I will ask you for a prediction, so I'm sorry. He's going to say like A&M. That's what he said. Anyway, so I will ask prediction. Plus, where does this rank on the North American events kind of rank here? We'll have that. Plus, the Texas Longhorns reportedly moving from Rodney Terry after the debacle last night. Crash landing Longhorns against Xavier. So where should the Longhorns go from here? Mamukelashvili. Sandro Mamukelashvili went 34 points. 34 points. He only missed one shot last night against the Knicks in a 120-105 over a very good Knicks for the Spurs last night. So impressive there. He made history in the most points in a game when playing for than 20 minutes since 1951 and 52, when the minutes became official. So hell of a night from Son. And then we will also get a little bit of the great article from ESPN detailing the untold story from Gregg Popovich's stroke aftermath that ensued that happened on November 4th. So, busy day today. Let's get right in and talk about the NCAA tournament first, because that is at the top of everyone's mind, at least it should be. Four are going to be right here in San Antonio, 5th and 7th. Final 4 games on the championship game in the Alamo Dome on the 7th. I was talking to a friend last night. I kind of said it already, but we were about where does it rank? What sports are better than the NCAA tournament? So I think it's a very short list. I think easily say the NCAA tournament 5. Is it top 2? Is it top 3? Is really where I'm here.
Asking the wrong guy for this one.
Well, you can is it one of your favorites? You can.
Who doesn't enjoy these 4 days, right? And to me, the first 2 days are a lot of fun too. You get the big mismatch, and then all of a sudden, big mismatches and games get close, and then you see some upsets. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Early vetting period, not a lot of fun. For me, historically, if you fill out a bracket and you're new by Friday at noon. And that's usually the case for me. So I'm going to enjoy this for different reasons this year, because I don't have a bracket and I'm not going to have to self-loathe for 3 weeks while everybody's talking about how well they're doing, and I got nothing.
Maybe be better at filling out the brackets.
I thought I would do this year was I would actually be a little harder on it, right? Fill out a bracket, and then fill out one would go into a pool that has the exact opposite of what I'd chosen over here. But I thought, you know what, that seems like too much work. The Final Four is coming, Antonio. So I'm going to enjoy whoever gets here naturally. I'll be a fan of all four teams here, but please, Texas teams. Let's have more punch through. That would be great.
Well, Houston is looking like they're going to get through the next. I think they're up by 20 in the first half. SIEU.
Let's hope they get
They're in Illinois, South Illinois University. Is that what we're talking about?
Because as if there's so many SUs in the world that we need to have
Edwardsville.
we need to have one. Yes, the name of the test to make sure that there wasn't mass.
So to me, I think you have to think of this in a couple of different ways. Are you just talking about the first 4 days, or are you talking about the entirety of the? Because if you're talking about the end of the tournament, then this is like top three. Super Bowl for me. Super Bowl, Masters, NCAA tournament in terms of great sports. But if you're talking about it in the CFP, do you include the entire 12-team playoff to include the final four games? So if it's the entire CFP, I really like this year because ASU is part of it. So I had a great time.
Right.
But I like football a little bit more than I do enjoy basketball, so would that be above? It's an interesting question, though, because I love the Masters. You won't beat the Masters on my list unless Broncos are playing in the Super Bowl. The Masters Sunday is probably my favorite day of sports in the entire year.
I'm a baseball postseason guy. That even I think it's a little different with the expansion of it. It's hard to beat the March Madness, right? This is what we've had actually our whole lives, right? We see this time of year. So become, I think that has a lot to do, and particularly nobody's been messed with it. The essence of it. The college football thing to me still feels a little weird.
Opening day.
So opening day too. But I count bases starting when pitchers and catchers report. Now, there's not much of a time for me.
You didn't think opening day was years ago when they were playing in Tokyo?
I did. And for all the Major League Baseball's getting, it's like I don't really understand that. It's they play 162 games. What's wrong with two teams going over there with the game's biggest star to Japan, his hand, and try to turn on and then for more subscriptions in Major League Baseball. I just don't why there's so much behind.
Half the Dodgers team is Japan now anyway, so.
Well,
but anyway, I think if you're talking like one single day, then it has to be the match because the Super Bowl.
But again, if
it's
Tigers
up
by
day,
20, a year like that,
I'd be even more into that. I want to see Tiger up 20.
The Masters is the biggest sporting event?
Opinion.
Oh, in your opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, the Super Bowl is this sporting event.
Yeah.
But is it my favorite to watch? Like Tigers in contention on a Sunday? Like that's just chef's kiss for me.
And I mean the Super Bowl too. It's like unless there's like the Cowboys or the your own squad in there. For me, kind of lost its luster. There's just so much stuff around it that it's hard to almost take the game seriously at this point.
These 2 days of the NCAA tournament might be my favorite. If you were to favorite 2-day stretch, like I love days of the NCAA tournament. You have 4 scores on every game, and you're trying to keep track of sets. You're looking at your bracket. That I have that. I have that. You don't have that this year, obviously. But it's fun because it seems like I think what the NCAA is going for it is even my who hates college basketball could bracket based on the costume color or mascots that she would win in a fight, and her could do better than mine, and I watch way more college basketball than I should probably admit. So I think that's part of the fun of it is that everyone should fill out their one sheet of integrity and see if they can compete.
Which officer really knows what they're talking about.
That's right. And the fact that you could have a gazillion people fill these out every year, nobody gets a perfect bracket.
Never happened. Never happened to perfect bracket.
Yeah, it tells you.
It's a fact. So the biggest sporting event of the year is the World Series of Poker main event.
That's fair.
That's a seven-day event, though,
Yeah,
at least.
it's one man's.
Well, yeah, for a while there, but they long break. It was wild. I didn't do it.
Yeah, well, I also didn't like that They used to do it on tape. It's still kind of delayed, like the 30 minutes on the final table, but
It kind of has to be.
yeah, but I also do, well, yeah, but 30-minute tape delay. They used to November 9 and like suspend the final table for like 4 months after they.
Yeah,
It was
that was ridiculous.
it was stupid. Anyway, now they don't even do it in the Rio anymore. Anyway, so hold on.
Mike on comments here. He says ESPN reporting that after one game, 13,309,080 knockets have fallen.
Mine included. Yeah, I had Louisville, but anyway. That's because you wussed out and didn't even do one.
I did.
I'm trying to keep this.
Fool me 20 times, Matthew. Come on me.
I'm trying to keep track of this High Point game because High Point's only down by 9 with a minute and 37 seconds left. So
I know who Mamu has in his bracket.
that's the real
That's
question.
the one.
That's the real. All right, I do want to talk to you about Terry. So there's reports that Texas has not made this official yet, from what I saw, but there's that Texas is going to fire Terry after losing last night, after he's at the helm. Horns lost last night 86-80, and they were up the entire game until it counted, until it mattered. Rodney Terry took over for Chris a few years ago after the whole big scandal stuff came out. They figured put in Rodney Terry. He took him to 8 appearance. That was followed by mediocre seasons at the helm of the Longhorns. If he is leaving, we'll have a 62-30 record overall, with a 4-3 record in the NCAA tournament, including last night's loss. What was your takeaway when you heard this from Rodney Terry being fired, reportedly?
Sad in some, but I think Rodney Terry will land on his feet, sir, right? I mean, this is what the University of Texas does. That's called too big to fail. You remember last year, their base team was, if we're missed, the better of the two baseball teams in that regional against Texas A&M that could have easily won the national championship last year at the College World Series. And they smoked David's after losing regional. I mean, it's really, you better be knocking on the door of a championship caliber roster at Texas every year, or this is what it's going to come down to for them. Sad, but if you're and that's the standard, or that's hard, then you kind of know what you're up for when you go there. So, you know, I'm sure they'll get their guy, and, you know, everybody's spitballing, you know, get Kelvin Sampson or go get this guy. I mean, it's just the way it is at Texas, and, you know, it's sad, but this is what is expected at Texas, is that you better be knocking on the door for a natty in every sport, or we're going to find somebody that will.
Kind of ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
Texas, from my, if I'm remembering this correct, they've only been to 3 Final Fours. Like, never won a national championship in basketball. Yet you have this high, lofty expectation you need to compete for a championship. Well, you've never done it. Like Rick, for 17 years, he got to 1 4. What is this false sense of pride from Longhorn fans that they feel that they deserve to be competing? It's never shown that you can compete every year anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's the fan base necessarily as it is.
Well,
You know, running the organization,
from the board of regents, stuff like that. I mean, like, what is this sentiment that you feel like you are good enough to compete when you've never proven you're good enough to compete every year, especially in the SEC, which is, they say, the deepest conference in the history of basketball. So, like, you're yourself in a deeper hole, right? Like, any sense?
I'm not on the inner sanctum. University of Texas, only they know what to do in something like this. But again, there's never been an in-state didn't feel like should be a program that competes for a final year.
It never seemed like it's a bit of a quick hook, in my opinion. I mean,
Me too.
Took you to an Elite Eight, 2 down years. Didn't really do the most with the talent that had this year, especially with Trey Johnson. And I mean, last night you were up all game. You were had a lead. What was it? 8 minutes left. Minutes left. 62-52 was the score. You get outscored from that point. 34-18. Like, it's just, you just can't lose that in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you know, watching them all year, they have nice athletes, but it's look a lot like the Spurs. Not last night, notwithstanding.
They've got named Sandro on the team.
Well, yes, but I mean, sometimes it just looks like they don't play together, and that's hard to do in this era of one and dones, transfer portal, and everything else. I mean, team sport, right? And to be able to have some continuity year to year, very, very difficult. So we'll see what the end in terms of finding a head coach, and if that coach have the same success they're looking for. I mean, that's the one thing about Kelvinson. You know, Graham was really down. Now he's got them humming.
Well, they've tried different things too. You try Chris Beard, Smart, who was the up-and-comer out of Wichita, and they hired him and didn't really work out there. Marquette doing a lot better job there. Maybe it was the Texas that didn't work out. You have Chris Beard, Rodney Terry, and now your third coach got fired in 2015. It's just like, what else I hear, you know? It seems like they have somebody like a Kelvin
Yeah,
Sampson.
I mean, and then
somebody
Beard,
who's a
Beard
doing a
instantly
great job at Ole Miss.
and has success there too. So I don't know. It's the world of basketball in general, every level is very, very interesting. The business models around them.
Last time, I forgot to ask you, who wins the NCAA tournament?
I just hope it's somebody from Texas to go right down company lines. I mean, I don't care if it's U of H, Texas, A&M, Baylor, or Tech.
One of those teams you want.
I'd love to have all four of them here. I think that'd be the thing ever. Any one of those teams to be good with getting and all.
I actually think you could, in theory, have an all Texas Final Four, because I think those teams on opposite sides of the
That's
bracket.
what I thought when I was looking at it on Sunday, chopping this up. But the job that McCaslin's done at Tech, and you know, these hard to know what to make them. They were really good for the part of the year, and then what were they, 5-2-7 going out? But most of their losses were to top 20 team, right there, and of course they lost the double over to Texas. But they've got gritty guys. Every one of the teams here does. U of H has the best chance, I think. Obviously, with their number one seed, with that. But A&M's got a high seed. Tech's got a pretty high seed, and Baylor and Coach Drew, you never know what they can get in. So that's what I'm hoping for. Otherwise, you don't want my pick for the final. I can assure you that.
I would love it.
I'll be 100%. By just me uttering what I just jinxed every one of those teams, and they're going to be before we even get to the Sweet 16.
That'd be crazy. I have Utah. I winning. I think it had it printed out, but I didn't bring up my Final Four over here. But I have Houston winning the national championship this year. I just think that Sampson's due, man. Kelvin Sampson has those men, and I love that team. So it'll be really, though. I love this time of year, like we said.
I like the story right now going on with the Cougs. I mean, you know, Kelvin's kind of opened himself up, and he talked about thinks he needs those kids on his right now more than those kids need him. And I think that really probably goes away with the vibe that's off right now, which is we are family and better not get in our way because we're coming like a train.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kelvin, the guys from Houston are just on another level. So let's get to the Spurs before we close things out and back to watching. Thank you for taking time for not watching the NCAA tournament and watching us instead. So about the Spurs real quick before Spurs beat the Knicks 120-105, and Sandro Mamukelashvili's career high 30 points. They beat the Knicks at home. He only played 19 minutes, the most points scored by anyone who had under 20 minutes in a game in NBA history. So let's hear the post-game interview, which had a little bit of flavor to it.
That you were shooting tonight, could you have shot it with your eyes closed and it still would have gone in?
Probably not, but it felt amazing. Thank you to my teammates for trusting me, coaching staff, everybody. I'm so excited. My family is here. My father here, my brother here. It's an unbelievable night. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We love you guys.
Flav, have you ever seen a shooting performance like this before?
Hey, let me tell you something. I don't care what nobody say. My man is on fire.
Flav.
Bring the noise.
Isn't that just the weirdest combo? Like, I would have never expected Sandro and Flava Flav to be good
Dude,
friends.
the one thing about Flav is, like, he's been on the cusp of all kinds of crossover stuff forever. Remember back, of course you don't, in the 80s he was on an Anthrax song. He did a collab together. It was really, really good. In my opinion, one of the best Anthrax
collab.
songs ever that they ever made. I know you would say that it's not a very long list to choose from,
Yeah,
and I would
fair
beg
enough,
to differ.
fair enough.
But anyway, yeah, and hats off to the Spurs broadcast crew, too. The way they all handled that, the way it was shot, you know, catching the moment in the moment, and as ridiculous of a performance as that was last night. Because, you know, when he did what he did in the first half, you're going, okay, wow, this guy had he had a moment here. And then for him to go and replicate and then exceed the first half moment later in the game, it was like, what in the hell is going on here? Like, everything he threw up went in. And then, you know, even at the end of the game, which was really weird, you know, of course, he drills a couple threes, and then the Knicks, bless their heart, they're still trying to figure out a way to stop him. And so they're all worried about stopping the three. And he and Chris Paul have this moment where they kind of lock eyes and they do a backdoor. He gets a freaking jam. It was really, really cool. And then the whole moment afterwards too, where Flav was just, you know, sauce for the goose at that point. The whole thing was really, really cool in a season that's sorely needing a moment like that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, and all his teammates will say and have said after the game, like, it couldn't have happened to a better dude. Like, Sandro,
and you can tell,
yeah,
right?
they loved it. They loved him, and they loved it last night.
Every single time that guy did anything, the bench, I mean, you talk about, you know, non-communication or non-verbal communication, right? I mean, yeah, if you didn't know what this guy means to this team, you sure as hell did last night if you saw any of the clips from his performance.
Yeah, it was awesome. This is what, after all the, you know, the hoopla settled down and he got to the podium. I think this is one of the first times we've had him at the podium post game. So this is what Sandro said in his first answer at the podium after the game.
I feel like I did it for my family, him, everybody who supports me. Man, I just can't explain how I feel right now. I feel like I'm in a dream. My dad was here. He flew in yesterday. My brother. So, you know, it's just a special, special night. And thanks to the guys and coaching staff and video guys who come in and work out with me every day. I just want to get this off. Like, just they're amazing. Every day at 8 a.m. they're ready. Off days, they're ready to get me better. Coaching staff, the guys, you know, they're my family, and I appreciate them. And, you know, thanks to my family for being here.
For a team that has been devoid of moments this year, that was a really cool moment last night. It was really, really awesome to see a guy like Mamu come out and have the game of his life in 19 minutes. He didn't come in until the start of the second quarter. He had 13 points in the second quarter, and they were like, well, I guess we better leave this guy in.
You know, I don't know Mamu, but I've seen him out twice in public, and he's really, really good with strangers. I mean, in my observations of him, he has never met somebody, even in a random place, like he's just picking up a salad somewhere.
Yeah.
He's never met a stranger, and I mean, it's not hard for me to believe his teammates love him like what they showed him last night.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, and I have on here, Spurs Make the Plan. I know you guys talked about it a little bit. I mean, there's 3 games out, but even if they're having moments like that is a good to cap off what has been a tumultuous, to say the least.
Yeah. Nice.
Right turn here. We'll talk about Popovich in the article from Ramona Shuckle, see right over this. A couple takeaways I haven't printed here, but in takeaways for me, there was a comment in here that it took, basically they chronicled over the last 6 months how this on inside the Spurs organization is told story. A couple of main takeaways, it kind of showed how bad it actually was. Heard through the grapevine a little bit. It has never really been expressed to any. There was a paragraph in here that said that it took him a couple of weeks to walk again. And it's months to be able to address the team. That's the reason it took so long. It's because he needed to get his strength back. Yes, it says he's also ahead on his rehab, probably 3 or 4 months ahead on his and that he wants to return to the sidelines, can't be 100% authentic and 100% I'm not going to do it. But that kind of jarring to me, was that he had to he couldn't walk for a couple of weeks
Yeah, he had to go to rehab to
do that again.
Right. I mean, yeah, we heard a lot of things. We didn't a lot of things that we were hearing, and I think out of fairness, and 1,000% something like this, you should never report anything. Don't know. It's 100%, 1,000 right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it was a nice piece. I thought they blended, the growth city and how things are changing, and they kind of wove that narrative, the story, and it was also a nice tip of the cap on what's already been a Hall of Fame career, but a one-of-a-kind, Hayes all-time winningest coach, having to go through some challenges at this in his life, and overall, a very nice piece of work.
It did, and I know you probably share this sentiment, and I know you've shared this feeling with me. It's sticking in my craw a little bit that it's an ES story, in that it's not a local story. Like, this isn't from, Tomlin. This isn't, the local guy can get this kind of access and of sourcing. Because Spurs just don't allow it.
Well, no.
And so it kind of chafed me a little bit, because I would rather, if I'm going to read a story like this about someone who's been so ingrained in San Antonio community, I would prefer if the Spurs would let, Osborne or Jeff McDonald or me or you or who tell the story, and instead of going to extreme media like this.
Well, I mean, to be fair to the reporters that did the story,
They did a great job.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of just being able to see how they wrote the story and who they were talking to was not anything I think that any of us couldn't have got to had we wanted to go get it. And what I'm trying to say is, I was talking to some of those in the same circles, but, able to close the story when it's talking about the NBA's all-winningest coach. Again, what we reported was misleading and kept people on the path. So you didn't have the minute
details
yes,
like you had.
Absolutely. But so I guess the thing is, in this particular instance, although yes, I know that they're going to try to keep the local reporters away as much as possible. I don't know that anybody gave any special access to this story. That wasn't the sense I getting it.
Fair enough. I did like you wrote it, though, because for people who aren't from San Antonio, I think it gave people a good little into what San Antonio is about. And I've only 3 years, much better than I do, that the moment in there where they were talking about the ownership from the Holtz to, and going Peter now, that would have headlines and blah, 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 but because it's in San Antonio, it had a few local stories. That was pretty much it. And how kind of stay under wraps in San Antonio because of small town nature of this town. Though it's the 7th largest city in the U.S., population-wise, the small town nature of this city kind of giving that, I thought was a really interesting way to kind of describe how San Antonio is as well. They had a lot of that local stuff, which was kind of...
It is. This is an interesting story because it's obvious it's not only a national story, it's a global story. It's not only a local story, it's a global story. So, I think there were probably a lot of people talking to people of this instance, but I think out of respect for a man's health, that's why it takes this long to maybe a story like this from start to finish, and there's not a lot of details in this in regards to Pop's health. Again, I'm sure he's coming from him. He doesn't want people to know. I get that. I don't think I would want people to know I was going through something really tough.
Yeah, I mean, he's not quoted in the story, except for old quotes. It's not had him for an interview for this story. He obviously is keeping everything close to the chest, as he should. It's his.
Right.
The one thing that I will also about this is there was a quote from a person close to the situation, quote unquote, saying it's Pop's decision. Is that the way? you see this,
Yes.
and it should be, as someone been the head of this organization for the last 30 years, has won 5 championships, is the all-winningest coach in NBA history, 25-year-old man. Is that the way you use as well? And that's the Spurs organization going to say, Pop, you let us know.
Yeah, he's been the head of the snake for all these years, period. Even superseding ownership cases. So, yeah, I think he earned that right. If he wants to continue on, if he gets to a point where he's physically able to go through it and do it, absolutely. I mean, he's for sure earned that right. And, it doesn't matter. Just talking about Terry, right? It doesn't really matter. No matter what you do, somebody's going to show you the door no matter what in the world of sports, in the world we live in. This is it's a unique situation here. These guys, this organization became dynamic against all odds, against money, against the bigger markets, against their teams. I mean, how you do this, if it'll ever replicated again, that you small market team become dynastic in this day and age? I don't know. I mean, does he earn that right? 100%. I don't know that you would get a single Spurs fan to argue against that.
As we've said from the start, and as we'll say again, about his health, and if he can come back strength, I think all of us would love to see him back on the side. If not, he deserves to have a bottle of wine and ride off sunset and sit over at Bliss and eat his and do whatever he's going to do.
Right. Again, even if he feels like he's not ready for the risk of sitting on the sidelines or coaching from the sides, I mean, he can still have a hell of a impact in a front office and call agents and, managing all that kind of stuff. That's maybe a little stressful.
Absolutely. Let's close it there. We'll talk about more on Monday.
You want to go watch the tournament?
I do. Let's go. I think before we get out of here.
Edwards, if Pop can't return, hire self. He likes Bill Sandro, coach. And also from Ed Rolson, he says he's not surprised by Mamu's performance. He has skill. Have been getting more playing time. He makes plays. He moves without the ball better than any team. His 3-ball is money.
His 3-ball was money, especially last night. 7 for 3, 34 points, 14 from the field.
He does seem to play pretty well when the name is called. So, you know how this league runs too. It's the guys that get paid or the guys who are going to play.
He also played well in last season to earn a roster spot here. He at the end of last year, we're questioning, okay, who's going to be on this team? I don't think anybody did him coming, you know what I mean? He's so well in the last 10 games that he earned a rod this season, and we're seeing why. So,
hats off to him. That was a lot last night, especially because it's they get close. I mean, the Spurs kind of beat their ass last night. It was kind of cool, one on here.
Haven't said that a lot this season. Haven't said that a lot this season, that's for sure. But, all right, everyone, enjoy. That's all we got for you on Sneakers Cleats today. Remember to download, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Thanks again to Zach Hedrick, who filled in on Monday. I'll be back on Monday with Don and Chuck and Luis over here and Bob over here. We'll be back on Monday. We'll see you then.